Grandfather is suing the parent companies of Macy's and Sunglass Hut after he was wrongfully accused and arrested for robbery in Harris County in 2022. But that's just where the story begins. Fox 26's Anthony Antoine spoke with the victim's lawyer. He joins us now with those details. Anthony.
Well, faulty facial recognition software is at the heart of this case. 61-year-old Harvey Eugene Murphy Jr., a grandfather, was taken to jail because the technology pinned him as the primary suspect for that robbery. But according to the lawsuit, he was taken to jail, and in a matter of hours, he was beaten, raped, and then released. And now, years later, he's suing. On January 22nd, 2022, this Sunglass Hut on West Gray in Houston was robbed by two armed men. The employees inside were threatened at gunpoint and taken to the back of the store while the suspects stole money and several pairs of glasses.
Sunglass Hut may not have access to facial recognition software, and so the documents show that they took the video to Macy's, who then used his features to determine that he was the one that had robbed the Macy's before and identified him as Mr. Murphy and told Sunglass Hut.
Daniel Duco.
So Macy's and Sunglass Hut, as far as I'm concerned, they should be culpable because they were the ones who made the mistake. Bottom line, this software you use, and we're going to try to find out what the name of that software was, but Macy's and the Sunglass Company, they should be culpable. And the people who did it, once they find out the people that actually did it, they should be culpable for what happens here.
The lawyer for 61-year-old Harvey Eugene Murphy Jr., who is from Houston, says his client was in California at the time of the crime. Murphy Jr. eventually moved back to Texas for work in October of 2023.
And he goes to the DMV to get his driver's license renewed. And the police officer comes from around the counter and puts handcuffs on him and arrests him.
And that was the beginning of a life-changing ordeal. Murphy was taken to jail for multiple felony warrants for the robbery at the Sunglass Hut. Court documents suggest the store employee was also prepped by the company and identified Murphy as the robber.
All right, so I'm going to read this case number here. Turn this up even more. Get my volume up. Harvey Eugene Jr., this is public. I don't know if it's a brother or if it's a Caucasian man. Either way, this is a very terrible thing what happened to this gentleman. And he did not deserve this by any stretch of imagination. I believe the police should be culpable too, because you made an arrest on false pretense. Just like if me and some dude got into an argument and I got into a shootout and I hit a kid or a dog or whatever, I'm going to be held responsible. I didn't mean to do that, but that bullet had somebody's name on it. Somebody's got to pay for that. You just don't get, well, yeah, so-and-so is shooting at me and I return fire. I'm going to have to hold some kind of responsibility because my aim wasn't right. You see what I'm saying? That bullet had someone's name on it, and I'm going to have to pay for that bullet. So I'm going to read this document. So it looks like it was filed on the 18th of last year. January, that is. January 18th, the beginning of 2024. And Harvey Eugene Murphy Jr., versus Essel Luxottica. So Essel Luxottica USA Inc., Luxottica of America, Luxottica Retail North America Inc., Macy's Inc., Kimco Reality Corp., Thomas Stees, Gray Yee, Novelli Rodriguez, Vanilla, and Anthony Fleischer. Those are all the people that's named in the lawsuit. And as far as I'm concerned, Harris County, Texas PD should also be named. So this is the petition. On January 22nd, 2022, the Sunglass Hut on West Gray in Houston, Texas was robbed by a violent criminal who threatened the employees with a gun and stole thousands of dollars. At the exact same time of the robbery, Harvey Eugene Jr. a 61-year-old grandfather who goes by Murphy, was in Sacramento, California, 2,000 miles away from Houston. He was nowhere to be found. That's the tragedy of this situation. He wasn't even in that damn state. Now, let me get this off here. It's a little bit of a lag. Let me tell y'all something. For time and time again, as I've been covering this, you've heard, and you guys have heard this for some time now, you need to just pull your pants up. That's why y'all getting arrested. And this dude's 60. This is Kalief Browder at 60. You ain't got to be doing nothing wrong with the police arrest you. You hear all that babbling plantation Sambo talk a lot. You hear that. If you just mind your business, he was minding his business. He was 3,000 miles, 2,000 miles away from Houston, Texas. You get what I'm saying? This is with AI. This is supposed to be something that's fine-tuned to the comb. And he finds himself in a jail cell where he was nowhere to be found during the crime. Remember, I told you about that young kid in Louisiana on his way to work. And this is what I was telling one of my homies the other day. I'm assuming the person's black, but they may not be. But this is very typical of our story. You just happen just to be the Negro around. But I don't know. And I could probably find out. I could probably get this person's information very easily. But I'm not going to embarrass them any more than what they've already had to be embarrassed by. Because I haven't got to the bad part just yet. So just to keep that in mind, you know, whenever you start hearing that, yeah, this can't happen to you. This won't happen to you. This can't happen to you until it does. It can. And it happens a lot, more than it should have. You hear this story a lot. So whenever you hear somebody talk about you don't nothing happen to you just because you minding your business, it can't happen to you. We have living proof right here. All right, so he grew up in Texas. They said Murphy grew up in Texas, but never visited the Sunglass Hut and knew nothing about the billion-dollar Fortune 500 company that owns the thousands of Sunglass Huts around the world. That's why, and when I get ready to tell y'all what happened to him, you know, you could never really repay, but yeah. His kids, everybody, his whole line, his whole lineage should be set for the rest of their life, for the next 10, 15 generations for what happened. And you can't really apologize for it. The only thing you could really do is, you know, but we'll get into that into a minute on my thoughts of this AI thing. Okay, so now he didn't know nothing about the company. He had no idea this company would use its vast resources to pay for error-ridden facial recognition software that would positively but falsely identify him as a violent criminal who robbed not only the Sunglass Hut but Macy's. We think about these large companies with billions of dollars as they're running, you know, they're running like a 350 rocket. They're just smooth and they're powerful. They run, a lot of these big companies run so damn janky. They just have all these ethics and code of conduct and all this, and they're just big and beautiful, nice glass panes and all of that. And, you know, there's all these perks, and you're thinking that these places are running on the up and up, and they got all kinds of janky ass software. So now it identified him as a violent criminal who robbed not only the Sunglass Hut, but Macy's. So this is two different places. He robbed Macy's and the Sunglass Hut. I'm talking about the criminal, the person who did it, not the guy that was falsely accused. As a result of being falsely identified as a violent criminal who committed numerous robberies, a warrant was issued for his arrest. When Murphy went to get his driver's license renewed, he was arrested and put in an overcrowded maximum security jail with violent criminals. Now, remember what I told y'all before. Remember that story? One of my favorite channels, the G Street News Network, where the brother was breaking down and exposing the corruption in Louisiana. You're not going to no real nice upkeep facility. They putting you wherever they want you. You're totally innocent, and they throwing you in there in the wolves with all the predators. They're not putting you in a kiddie camp. You see? So while in jail trying to prove his innocence, he was beaten. I'll use the R. I'm not going to use the R word to get dinged, but he was gang aped and left with permanent and awful lifelong injuries. Hours after being beaten and aped, the charges against him was dropped and he was released. So now you gotta bring in the Department of Corrections in there, Texas. When you're doing your time, part of your time is not 5-7 dudes bending you over. That's not part of your time. That wasn't your charge. That wasn't your punishment. He's still waiting for trial. He wasn't even in there that long. And that's what happened to him. 60-year-old man, you got to think, there's nothing really you could do for this dude. He's 60-some years old, let alone if he would have been younger. The rest of his life, he got his manhood took at 60 years old. He don't really got much to live for after that. You done took that man's life from faulty AI. So the AI system, that needs to be all of it. There should be 10, 15 people in the lawsuit. You know, as far as I'm concerned, outside of the damn money, I think there should be some prison time involved. I think the people that falsely put him in there, the people that's responsible for that, they should go to that jail. I think that's fair. Cut that man about 15, 20 to $100 million and send some of them folks, whoever's all involved in this, they need to go do some time. Because he ain't gonna get over that. He ain't gonna get over that, man.
Identified Murphy as the robber, with facial recognition playing a key role in his arrest. Murphy gave officers his alibi. It checked out, and he was told he would be released.
While he was being held in jail, he was going to use the restroom. He was beaten, sexually assaulted, raped.
Because of the nature of the alleged crime, lawyers say Murphy Jr. was put alongside violent criminals.
Now, y'all got to understand this too. I want y'all to think about this for a moment. We're not talking about a maximum security prison. This is the county jail. You ain't even got to the big house yet. These are seasoned criminals. These are people that nobody wakes up and just does that. These dudes been doing this for a while. Them dudes been doing that. They might have just came home from a bid and went and maybe got back in there or something like that. So you got to think about the kind of people that they got him in there with. This man trying to go use the bathroom and some dudes run up on him. He's an old guy. He ain't really too much able to fend himself off, probably too much. You see what I'm saying? This happened under their responsibility. They're responsible for keeping you safe in that situation. He should have been able to use the bathroom, right?
3 men followed him to the bathroom and raped him with a shank pressed against his neck. He was released and the case was dismissed. He is now suing the parent company of Sunglass Hut and Macy's for using the facial recognition software that led to his false imprisonment. The dangers of using this technology is also outlined in court documents.
I know for a fact that studies have showed that African Americans have a high rate of...
Well, I think that gives me the answer right there. These studies have showed that foundational blacks, the descendants of slaves, that's who we're talking about. That's majority of America that's in prison. I didn't say it, he said it. He used the term African American. We don't really use that term no more. That's some old Jesse Jackson stuff or whatever. We got our own terms that we're gonna tune in. Freedmen. Either way, African, whatever you want to call it, Hebrew, African American, descendant, whatever. Black. This dude was likely black from what this man's saying. He used the term African American. So this was a black man, as I suspected. Now, I think they said before that he had a record, which has nothing to do with this before. So maybe they, you know, when they grabbed them, when they use that AI, they just said, okay, this is any black person will do. Because they obviously didn't do any investigation. They could not confirm that that was actually him. And that's a mistake on the police part. The Department of Corrections, Texas, they need to be held to the fire for that too, for that arrest. He should have never been arrested.
For a fact that studies have showed that African Americans have a high rate of false positives based on facial recognition software. I also know comparing people who are older with pictures of them, of other people when younger, so age gaps have a very high rate, up to 90% of false positives.
According to his lawyer, Murphy has long-standing physical and psychological injuries, and he is now coming forward to raise awareness and hopefully prevent this from happening to someone else. Now, I want to note here the Houston Police Department and Harris County is not named in this lawsuit. It's a long list of people here. And
that's a problem, y'all.
Murphy's
That's a very serious problem. They should be named.
The attorney also believes the parent companies from Macy's and Sunglass Hut are the real people at fault here, and they are suing for $10 million. We did our due diligence. I reached out to Macy's. They say, quote, we have no comment on Penn.
Yeah, they're trying to figure out, okay, so now what I want to do as well is I want to bring up some other cases. Man, look at this case. Fair use, YouTube, fair use.
Totally mind blown. I don't think I've seen anything around me.
When a crabber in Lee County got a call from someone claiming to be a detective in Northeast Florida, claiming he was involved in a crime hours away, he thought it was a prank. Turns out it wasn't.
I'm just thinking, how in the hell did this happen to me?
He was eventually arrested, and the reasons why left him stunned. Evan Dean has this Gulf Coast investigation that's a warning to all of us.
This is the moment a deputy showed up at Robert Dillon's front door. His face says more than words.
Do you got any shoes or anything on you?
Fair use, YouTube, fair use.
Are you shitting me, man?
I'm not.
It all happened back in August, just outside Dillon's home in San Carlos Park.
This is craziness.
What is it?
I gotta get my shoes.
What is going on?
What's going on is Dillon is about to be arrested for a crime he never committed.
I'll tell you what, man, I'm gonna put you in the cuff in the front.
This is nuts.
Despite insisting he's innocent, Dillon is handcuffed, put in a police cruiser, and taken to jail.
There you look. This happened in August 26, 2024. Y'all, this is out of hand, man. This is ridiculous.
God, this is nuts.
I wouldn't know what to tell you, G. It's not our investigation.
For Dillon, the only thing harder to believe than the arrest itself is where the crime happened and how he was identified as the suspect.
And I'm thinking, how in the hell did this happen? How did this happen? They say in life everything happens for a reason. I can't for the life of me figure out this one.
More than 300 miles northeast of Lee County sits the coastal resort city of Jacksonville Beach. It's here at a fast food restaurant near the ocean where the alleged crime happened. In November of 2023,
We'll go on.
A young girl told police that a man office ran the surveillance photos through a facial recognition program, AI, which revealed a 93% match on facial features to Robert Dillon. The report doesn't say what photos of Dillon sparked the match, a driver's license, a mugshot, or something else. He does have a criminal record, including an arrest for DUI and for a bar.
Now, the black man had a criminal record too. You see what I'm saying? Like this is too much, man. Here's another case. This is another case.
So that day, I was headed to my mom's house for Thanksgiving to celebrate with my family and whatnot. And on my way that way, I got pulled over by the police. I didn't know why I was being pulled over. When I asked why, they told me I was being pulled over for a warrant and they just continued to ask me my name. Once they verified it was me, they pulled me out the car and they locked me up and they told me that I had a warrant, and I asked them for what and from where. And they told me that I had a warrant out of Jefferson Parish. I asked, where's Jefferson Parish? Because I had never heard of that county. And then they told me it was in Louisiana. And then I was confused because I had never
Do y'all understand how dangerous this could have been, man? They could have put that man in them Parish prisons, Jefferson Parish.
been to Louisiana. But also when they told me that my warrant was for theft, I was confused as well too. I was just locked up for the next week. I asked them why was I being locked up, or what is it even saying that I did? And then they just kept telling me that it was out of their jurisdiction and they didn't really know. So I basically just had to wait until Louisiana officers would come get me, and then I would have more details. I was finding out that I was arrested for a physical theft, actually, not like something that happened online.
See, we're seeing this more and more and more. Look at this case here.
We turn now to another shocking story, this one out of Detroit, Michigan, involving a woman named Portia Woodruff, who was 8 months pregnant when
Fair use,
police
YouTube, fair
mistakenly
use.
arrested her for robbery and carjacking. 6 officers showed up at her home when she was getting her little daughters ready for school. They took her down to the station, held her for 11 hours, then released her on $100,000 bonds. Portia Woodruff.
So this sister had to pay 10 grand. I'm assuming that the jail system could be similar here in Minnesota. $100,000 bond. False arrest. She shouldn't have to pay 10 grand.
Contractions in jail, had to be taken to the hospital after her release due to dehydration. A month later, after her arrest, prosecutors dropped the case because the Detroit police had made the arrest based on a faulty AI, artificial intelligence.
And those officers and anybody that signed that affidavit needs to be in prison.
Police had made the arrest based on a faulty AI, artificial intelligence facial recognition match. According to the ACLU, Portia Woodruff is the first woman, at least the 6th person, to report being falsely accused of a crime as a result of facial recognition technology. All 6 people have been Black. Portia Woodruff is now suing the city of Detroit. She joins us along with her attorney, Ivan Land. We thank you both very much for being with us. Portia, take us back to that day, and I hate to make you do this, but the fact that this happened to you may be a sign of things to come. You're the first woman to be arrested on faulty facial recognition technology. So you're getting your daughters ready for school. What happens next?
The 6 police officers came to knock on the door. I heard the loud knock. I went down, I opened the door. It was a female police officer at the door. She asked if I was Portia Woodruff. I confirmed, I said yes. She says, I have a warrant for your arrest. So in the beginning, of course, like I said, I thought it was a joke. So I asked, I said, warrant for what? What is the warrant for? She hesitated. She procrastinated. She didn't want to, give me any information.
Here's the thing, y'all. What is the city? Let's look at what is that software called? We need to know what it is. So going back to this, Texas man says facial recognition led to his falls. We need to know what the name of that software is, y'all. What's the name of that software? Yeah, this dude was violated just hours before his release. They said he was in jail for 2 weeks until officials realized his alibi proved it was physically impossible for him to be responsible for the robbery. Now, we don't know how long he was in there with those inmates, but hours before his release, California arrest made for a solid alibi. Now, they said Murphy was on probation for a history of nonviolent burglaries in the 80s and 90s. He was pulled over, arrested, and taken to jail in California for failing to report his whereabouts and obligation under his probation. If it wasn't for Murphy being in jail the day of the Texas robbery, then he would not have the rock solid alibi that proved his innocence. So he was in California and in jail as his alibi. He added that Murphy said if he had just been at home watching TV and not had an alibi, he would be in prison right now. Dutko said the result of the AI possibly influenced the witness who identified Murphy as one of the robbers, and that he has information suggesting the store's loss prevention team spoke to her before the lineup. Plus, eyewitness accuracy is known to be far from perfect. Macy's declined to comment on the lawsuit. Murphy traumatized by time in Texas jail. I'm sure he would be. Murphy has since seen a psychologist, a psychiatrist to be treated for the trauma he endured in jail, Dutko said. He can't sleep at night, he said. He can't stop thinking about it. In jail, the men held a shank up to his neck and threatened to unalive him if he told somebody. USA Today does not typically name victims of the sexual assault, but Dutko said it was important to his client to come forward so that happened to him. And that's how another reason you know how this happened. Ain't no man gonna say nothing like that unless it happened to him. First of all, he's an older guy, but something like that happened to you and people find out, the first thing people start having is jokes. It's not sympathy, especially with a guy. People can start, ha, 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 the booty bandits got you, stuff like that. So that's ridicule from that. You're going to get hit with jokes online. And you're suffering about this because, you got your manhood took. He said, this can't keep happening. If I have to suffer the inconvenience of people knowing that it was me, that I got violated, but it stops this in the future, I'll do it. That's understandable. Now, check this out. The lawsuit highlights dangers of face recognition misuse. I honestly, if you were to ask me, and I'm from a tech background, heavy tech background, I think it needs to be abolished. Just get rid of it. It's not accurate enough. Just get rid of it. The lawsuit said the company should not rely on AI technology to identify suspects. Quote, any one of us can be improperly charged with a crime in jail based on error-prone facial recognition software, the lawsuit says. The companies that use this kind of software know it has a high rate of false positive, but they still use it to positively identify alleged criminals. The lawsuit also alleges that EssilorLuxottica's facial recognition technology has a high accuracy rate only under ideal surveillance circumstances, including consistent lighting, positioning, and no objects obstructing its view. That's too many variables, y'all. That's too many. There was another case. Now let's look at the lawsuit here. Rustin Hardin and Associates has a suit. Retailers' faulty AI facial recognition software wrongly identified victim as 2022 armed robber. I was very critical on how AI does things in my second book. I was critical in AI, and I was very critical in the transhumanism thing. And I have good measure to do so. So all right, look, okay, let's see what it says here. Mr. Murphy has a criminal record dating back to the 80s and 90s, but none of his offenses involve violence. And in the last 30 years, he has built a new life. So at this point, they have not named the software that they were using because the companies don't want to be involved. The companies don't want to be involved. There is another piece of software. I'll wrap this up, but I'm going to do another story. And the next time y'all come up, I'm going to do a story from an article on ProPublica. Once again, in Louisiana again. This is one of the, y'all like, damn, DP, he's fascinated. He's fascinated about the Louisiana system. That's one of the most corrupted systems. they're getting ready to abolish parole. They locking up all these foundational black folks. One dude he was deemed to be a moderate risk, and this dude's almost blind, 70 years old, from an algorithm. From a damn algorithm. So we'll do that next time. I'm gonna bookmark this, and we'll do that next time. But yeah, this is out of control. And I'm seeing a pattern, mostly black, but like with the white guy, he had did time too, but he wasn't a criminal anymore. In his home. I just think they should just get rid of it. That's my take. So I'm gonna upload this, and y'all will get this in a minute. This isn't a story time. This is good. This is an analysis. This is one of my analysis. So I'll upload this in a minute.